In today's video, we're going to be talking about 5 of the biggest NHL draft steals in recent memory. So I'm going to be doing it from 2010 up until now, and they had to have been drafted 100th overall or later. So let's get right into the video. At number 5 is Brendan Gallagher of the Montreal Canadiens. He was drafted in the 5th round, 147th overall back in the 2010 NHL draft. He has 239 points in 406 games and 21 points in 40 playoff games. But he's a guy who means more to your team than just putting up points. He plays bigger than he actually is. He's a guy who's always in the front of the net, always in the corners, finishing his hits, getting under the other team's skin, and he's most likely a guy who you hate if you're not on his team, and if he's your teammate, you definitely love him, and you gotta respect how hard this guy works for being a little bit of an undersized player, and that kind of probably is why he was held back and not taken till the 5th round. He played very well at the World Juniors for Team Canada. I remember that vividly, and he's just been a very consistent player since being drafted, and he's been a huge part of the success that the Montreal Canadiens have had over the past couple of years, and he arguably is coming off of his best season yet, scoring more than 30 goals, which is one of the bright spots in this season for the Montreal Canadiens, so that's why Brendan Gallagher is on this list. Next up is Andre Palat of the Tampa Bay Lightning. He was drafted in the 7th round, 208th overall back in the 2011 NHL draft, and that's kind of weird because he did put up 40 points in 59 games for Drummondville of the QMJHL, but he was more known as a defensive forward coming into the league, and he really has been one of the best and underrated defensive forwards in the entire NHL since he's became a regular in the Tampa Bay Lightning's lineup, and he's a huge part to what that team is trying to build over there. In my opinion, he was one of their best players in the playoffs this season. Him and Braden Point really stood out to me while watching them throughout their playoff run that ended in the conference finals to the Washington Capitals. If he wasn't injured this season, I really do think he would be getting a lot more recognition for the success that he's had so far. But when this guy is healthy, he's one of the best two-way forwards in the game, and he also knows how to find the back of the net and is a huge piece to the success of the Tampa Bay Lightning right now and going forward. Next up is Victor Arvidsson of the Nashville Predators, and I know I spelled his name with a C instead of a K, that's my mistake. He was drafted in the 4th round, 112th overall in the 2014 NHL draft, and what a diamond in the rough the Nashville Predators found in Victor Arvidsson. He's played in 220 games and has 68 goals and 70 assists for 138 points. Such an offensively gifted player, and he has a very lethal shot that doesn't really get talked about that much when you hear people talk about players with the best shot in the NHL. Victor Arvidsson really does have an underrated shot, and he doesn't shy away from the big moments either, as in 49 playoff games he has 9 goals and 15 assists for 24 points and was a huge part of the Nashville Predators' run to the Stanley Cup Finals last season, and he played well in their 1st and 2nd rounds this past postseason, and I'm sure a lot of teams are very upset that they didn't draft this guy. Coming out of the SHL, he put up 40 points in 50 games over there, so it's kind of interesting that a lot of teams pass this guy up, and I'm sure if the draft was to be redone, he would definitely not be going 112th overall. Next up is John Klingberg of the Dallas Stars, and he really has cemented himself as one of the best offensive defensemen in the entire NHL, and a guy who I think might win a Norris Trophy or two in the course of his career. He was drafted in the 5th round, 131st overall in the 2010 NHL draft. He's played in 303 games and has 42 goals and 172 assists for 214 points, and that point total as a defenseman is very, very good, and he's a big guy as well, so he's no slouch in the defensive end, and he's not like other offensive defensemen in the league that are kind of defensive liabilities. This guy is a two-way defender with a way above average offensive game. In 13 playoff games, he has 1 goal and 3 assists for 4 points, so he hasn't really been able to play in many playoff games, but I think that is going to change in the next couple of years, as the Dallas Stars really do have a roster that should be making the playoffs, but it really does blow my mind that so many teams passed up on John Klingberg, and the Dallas Stars have to be so happy that they were able to get him with such a late pick. This guy with your 5th round pick, a guy who's potentially a franchise defenseman, is unbelievable, and with Miro Heiskanen coming in probably next season, this defense core is only getting better, and same goes for the whole roster in Dallas. And lastly is Johnny Gaudreau of the Calgary Flames, drafted in the 4th round, 104th overall in the 2011 NHL draft. He's played in 312 games and has 97 goals and 191 assists for 288 points, so he's almost up there as a point-a-game player over the course of his career. He's only played in 15 playoff games, but he has 4 goals and 7 assists for 11 points, and he probably really does hope that the Calgary Flames can put a really good roster around him because he has played well in the short amount of playoff time that he's gotten so far. And I can kind of understand why so many teams passed up on Johnny Gaudreau, as he's one of the smallest guys in the NHL, but that really is kind of the realm now in the NHL. There is a lot of talented small players. You look at guys like Patrick Kane, who's not a really good size. You have Mitch Marner, Matt Zuccarello, obviously Marty St. Louis, and Johnny Gaudreau, and all those guys are really paving the way for other small players that want to break into the NHL and really showing how impactful they can be. He really did play fantastic at the World Juniors against other big young players, so I'm kind of surprised he still went in the 4th round, but Calgary certainly has to be happy that he was able to fall to their 104th overall pick, and he really is the franchise centerpiece for them along with Sean Monahan. So that is going to wrap up the video. I really hope everybody did enjoy. I thought today I would just make a shorter type of video as opposed to the huge video I made yesterday, and thank you guys for all the support on that. It's over 400 likes and the dislikes are only at 10, so I'm blown away with the support you guys showed on that video. I really do appreciate it. So make sure you guys drop a like on this video if you did enjoy, and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.